Today I'm cruising a property for a guy who wants to improve his deer hunting. It's a small property. It's only 25 acres, but it's kind of cool because it is surrounded by state land. State game lands on two sides, private on one, and then private across the street, and a whole bunch of game lands out that way. There's plenty of a pool to draw deer in to this property if we get it arranged correctly. They're not seeing a lot of deer here, and you can see why, because even though this had been clear cut in the past, it grew back, and it was probably great for a while, and now it's grown to the point where there's no cover and no browse. So what I'm going to recommend in here is a crop tree release. There's a nice red oak right there. I take a look at the species, then I take a look at the crown. It's got a really nice crown on it. It's dominant in the overstory. And there's some cherry in here that looks pretty good. And we want to reduce red maple. They don't really help you timber-wise, and they are not producing anything that deer can eat. What happens when you have closed canopy to your oak trees is they grow up a little bit. That's about a, I don't know, half-inch caliper oak tree, and grew up a little bit. Deer eat the buds off the tips in wintertime, and it starts growing like a bush instead of a tree. Best thing to do for those is to burn this area and top chill them. You can burn these right off top, and they will sprout back very vigorously, especially if you open up the canopy and get full sunlight in here. So this stand has opened up even more as I come up the hill. If it's really wide open, so no good for deer. There's no wonder why they don't hang out in here. There's some big mother pine trees. Here's a seedling that, again, if we put some sun on it, it'll grow. As you can see how badly chewed up that is. It's never going to amount to an oak tree, but if we burn it off or cut it off, which, I'm not going to cut it off, but these leaves will burn very readily, and we'd have good fire breaks up at the top of the hill there, and there's enough personnel that we can safely burn this. Certainly don't want to get over on the state game lands. They probably wouldn't like that. But there's actually a pretty good overstory in here to make seeds. Probably want to reduce hickory up in here, but we'll see. It's mostly oak in here, and they have a pretty good stand of it with lots of acorns being released. So we may want to keep those thick oak stands like this. There's a hickory there that it's a nice tree, but if it's not really a deer tree. There's some really poorly formed oak trees that would make good hinge cut trees. I don't normally recommend hinge cutting unless you have the right species and you're in the right location. Kind of looks like there might not be quite enough material to use for your hinge cuts. And here, I could drop this big hickory that is no good. The other option is to come in here and try to sell some scragwood, which is your low quality timber. And I'm not sure there's enough volume, but we'll find out. After I cruise it, we'll find out if there's enough volume that we just take these hickories out. There's another hickory there. Okay, so there's the top of the ridge right there. And it just broke over the top. And down the other side, on the sun side, they still have another 50 yards of land. But right in here would be a great bedding area. The problem is that we have a bunch of ailanthus growing. There's some small ones. And there's the mother tree right there. And we need to get in here and drop those. There's another one. right here. Yeah, what I'd like to do is create bedding sites all through here, and then keep this, make sure nobody's riding their four-wheelers. There's a four-wheeler trail right up there. We want to leave this alone. Down the hill, right there, you can see a white spot. That's the state land. And guys can walk up, putting pressure on deer. And you might say, well, why do you want this area to be a bedding area? And to that I say, if all of the pressure comes from down the hill, from the road up, it's going to push deer into this. And if people want to go and line sit and stink this area up, they're just going to move down, and we'll have thick cover down there ready for them to move into. So there's only about 2.5 acres of this up here on this strip, but I think this whole area could be a good bedding site. On the north side of the ridge, there are no invasives, which is beautiful. I didn't notice this. These are all ailanthus trees, every one of these. And they got to go. So I think what I'll do is they're all going to go to the south anyway, so I'll just lay them down that way, treat the stump, and just create a big mess up in here, and hopefully the deer will bed down.